everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ask Princess. This is actually the very first episode of 2014, so I'm very excited to be back with everyone. Be sure to stay tuned throughout the year because I have a lot of topics, a lot of discussion, and other little surprises that I cannot wait to share with you all. With this being the first podcast of the new year, I just want to say I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday season and that you're finally able to regroup and wind down and kind of really and truly get back to normalcy. And I hope that the new year has been very prosperous and has been very wonderful to you all. So here's to having a wonderful start to the new year. So let's just kind of jump right into the topic. Try not to hold you guys hostage for too long, seeing that this is the very first podcast of the year. But this is a very important topic. Being your own patient advocate. To me, being your own patient advocate is probably the most important single thing that anyone can do when it comes to their health care, their well-being, and just their healthy status in general. So this topic really sprang up probably around the source of the topic sprang up around October, but the concept for this idea sprang up probably a couple of weeks ago. Now, with this being the first podcast, I had a lot of different topics that to choose from, which one I wanted to do first, or what have you. But I felt this one should go first because it's very important. The topic itself sprang up initially in October, but it really came to a head a few weeks ago. And I figured that I would share a little bit of my own personal experience, which sparked it, just to kind of give you an idea of why this is so important. So let's jump right in. Without going into a whole lot of detail, because really it's no point. Around October-ish, like the middle to the end part of October, I noticed something going on with my eyes. It started with one, ended up going to the other. I initially called my primary care office, and I said office and not physician because where I go, for treatment as far as my primary care, they interchange doctors. So it's your primary care office. You can go there, and if your doctor is no longer there, they'll just move you to another physician. So thankfully, on the plus side, I'm not a very sickly person. I have a very strong immune system. When the flu season comes, I'm mingling amongst those who have it, bronchitis, strep, whatever it is, you name it. I interact with people who who have those, and luckily I do not contract it. Very strong, very healthy immune system. I'm not going to switch as soon as we're done with this, but I rarely get sick. So have this little issue going on with my eyes. I call my primary care office and request an appointment. They told me that this appointment, well, no, let me backtrack. Requested an appointment. They put my name and my information in, and what do you know? Boom, my information pops up in the system because why? I've been there before. Now, they report to me that I had not been there for 3 years. Yay for me, because in all honesty, I really have not been sick enough, or even really sick, more so than maybe a common cold, to actually need to go to the doctor. They told me I hadn't been there for 3 years, and in that instance, they are technically considering me a new patient. So I pondered on this. Okay, that's a bit crazy because really, since my information is there, I would just need to update it, and that would be it. But okay, and then a new patient, you're scheduling them 3 weeks out. Now, don't get me wrong, I do understand the whole concept of no, you cannot take every new person that walks in immediately. No, you can't just take, you know, every new person at one time, period, even with scheduling. But I also look at it as if someone's calling you because they're sick, they need to be seen immediately or as soon as possible. And just because you're deemed a new patient, you have to go 3 weeks without being seen, without treatment. A little crazy to me, but I went along with it. So I explained to the nurse that I would accept this appointment. Keep in mind, this is in October. This appointment was scheduled for November. I told her I would go ahead and keep this appointment. I probably would end up either, worst case scenario, going to the emergency room or going to an emergency care facility. In my area, it's patient first. Some people have like med clinic or whatever it's called to be seen. Those one day you go in, you come out type deals. I explained to her it was my eyes, really need to get examined. So I'll just keep this as a follow-up appointment. Lo and behold, I go to the doctor. I'm seen. I'm given a prescription, and that is suggested. Follow up with your primary care physician once you're done with your medicine. So luckily, in this instance, within a week of finishing my medication was my appointment. All right, great. Approaching time to this appointment, I realized there was a conflict and I would not be able to make it. I called to reschedule, and again, I was offered an appointment 3 weeks out. Really? Are you serious? Okay, so let's take this appointment. So we're going to fast forward. Going back and forth with them in regards to this appointment, I officially was not seen until about 2 weeks ago, like the end of February, from an issue that stemmed all the way from October. Now, I'm going to tell you, bits and pieces because we don't have to do the step-by-step total process, but I'm going to give you bits and pieces of what the important points. I'm not going to say bits and pieces. The important points of what happened in between October, or technically November, and February, and then I'm going to actually explain how I got the appointment that I did get. So, I rescheduled this appointment from November, which actually turned into a December appointment. I had a December appointment, and I had, I believe, a late January appointment, all for the same condition. I was not seen at any of these times. This particular office, now, don't get me wrong, it is patient's responsibility to write down your appointments. But for me, I like to confirm because I'm busy. So I like to confirm with my healthcare practitioner or anyone when I make an appointment that our appointment is still okay, especially if the people or the office has called me. Within this time, I received um, one phone call where the nurse left a message, and when I returned the phone call, the phone stayed busy. I called all the lines, which was like 2 or 3 lines, and I called consistently. And when I say consistently, I mean some of them I called back to back within like 30 seconds. As soon as I could hang up, I redialed and alternated the numbers. I called consistently for over 2 hours up until the office closed. Keep in mind, the nurse called, say, at 1 o'clock. So for like 3 or 4 hours, calling consistent. Busy, busy, busy. I don't know what they want. Because she didn't leave any specific message. She just said she was calling from the office, and that was it. So I don't know if they cancel my appointment. I don't know if they need to reschedule it. I don't know if they need me to bring something in. I do not know what they want. I missed that appointment. Got another appointment. They actually called and they did not leave any message at all. No message whatsoever. They just called. I happened to recognize the number. When I called back, I got, we're closed for lunch. I got busy. Nothing. I was not able to speak to anyone. And with that, I missed that appointment. Now, also the thing with this office that kind of irked me was that when you call, it actually tells you that you cannot leave a voicemail message. Why can't you leave a voicemail message at your doctor's office? You call, they're not able to get to the phone because they are a doctor's office, they are busy. You at least should be able to call to leave a message to inquire about anything. That wasn't the case. You can't leave a message to even let them know that you called for them to return your call. So going through all this hassle, this back and forth. Oh, and then the crazy thing is the last time they called, they actually called on their lunch break. They take an hour lunch break, in which I later found out that they only used half of it for lunch and the other half they work and make calls. But if you miss the call and you call back during this time period, they're not going to answer the phone. So my logic on that was, what is the point of even calling? You're not leaving a message and you're not answering the phone for a return call. And the caller cannot, or the patient, not the caller per se, cannot leave a message when they call to let you know they need to return the call back. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Long story short on that, fed up with all this craziness of trying to get this appointment. Every time you get an appointment, it's 3 weeks out. There's no real communication with this doctor's office, or it's incomplete, I should say. Went in, decided I need to speak to someone who's in charge. At this particular facility, they have a nurse manager. She was in charge and she willingly spoke with me. It was not a problem. Very nice lady. And, she tried to explain to me their policy of, yes, it's 3 weeks out. Even if you've been a patient, if you haven't been there in X, Y, Z amount of time, you're still technically a new patient. All this good stuff. Protocol and procedure, I understand. But when you get to things like people calling and they're not leaving messages, or you try to call and you get busy signal for 2 hours straight, or you call and you can't even leave a message for them to return your call. And also one thing they didn't do is that they didn't call to confirm the appointment, period. Now, she explained to me that it's just a courtesy, but most doctor's offices, most dentist offices, most whatever, will call to confirm the appointment, whether it benefits them or is benefiting you. That is usually what happens, and this was not the case. So after speaking with her, I let her know that, I'm not crazy. There's a lot of improvement that needs to go on in this office, especially if you're sick. You need to be seen more than 3 weeks out. I understand they have limited space, I guess, for quote unquote new people, but you're basically telling people, screw you, because if you're sick now, you can't be seen for 3 or 4 weeks. Really? And for me, I wasn't sick, but I had something going on with my eyes. That's important. That's not something you can wait on. So with that being said, we had a nice little discussion, but the thing that really stuck out with this discussion was she said no one ever really speaks out. She said she can only help you if you share your concerns with her, and most people will have not or will not share their concerns. She says that basically, long story short, she knows that of course you have to, save face, but she believes that her office is offering the best care possible. But when patients are unhappy, they do not speak out at all. They just take it, run with it, and that's what it is. Now, because I did speak out, she offered, she was like, well, I can set you up for another appointment. No, you can't. I'm not going to do that. No, 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 no. Because I don't want to wait 3 weeks out. So she said, well, I'll take your name and number down. And if we have a vacancy before then, I will call you. And that is what she did. So I ended up getting an appointment about a week and a half later versus having to wait those 3 weeks that they just swore I had to wait. Because I went and voiced my opinion and because I let her know, like, this is unacceptable, I ended up getting an appointment a week and a half earlier, which was a week and a half after I had this talk. Now, I say all of that to say this because it's not 100% guaranteed what type of response or what type of action, an administrator will take or what will come from it. But it is very important that you voice your opinion because, like she said, most people just take what they feel to be poor service or unsatisfactory service, and they just go along. They just take it, hold it, and go on. They never bring it to anyone's attention that they were unsatisfied. They never bring it to anyone's attention that this is a problem. And in fairness to the medical facility, they cannot improve if you do not say anything. Also, with that being said, you as a patient, someone who is either paying insurance, who's paying these people, or someone who's paying directly, you deserve quality, efficient, and effective healthcare. You do. And so here are some tips that I have compiled together to just kind of share with you to promote being a patient advocate. You, as a patient, you have a right to understand your illness and your treatment. So if your doctor comes in and they tell you you have XYZ and you have no idea what that is, you have a right to have them explain it to you exactly what it is. Whether they explain it to you or they give you literature, they go over it, you have a right to know what is going on. You have a right to know what your treatment is, what medicines they're prescribing, what exactly does this medicine do, what are the side effects. You have a right to know what's going on with you, and you have a right to know how it's going to be treated. Your physician, nurse practitioner, dentist, whatever medical professional does not have the right to blow you off. They should not come in 2 seconds, give you a once over, and boom, they're out. They have a duty and a right to explain to you what is going on. The next thing is you have a right to ask questions. If you're with a practitioner and they make you feel like you're dumb for asking questions or you're wasting their time, that is not the practitioner for you. You have a right to ask questions because, for one, you may need explanation as to exactly what is going on and how you're going to treat it. Also, any questions that you just have in general unrelated to that, they are supposed to answer you. You have a right to refuse treatment. If you feel that the treatment they're giving you is not satisfactory or you disagree with it, you have a right as a patient to refuse that. You have a right to a second opinion. If you feel that the treatment or the care or the diagnosis is not for you, then you have a right to a second opinion. Sometimes it is very beneficial to get a second opinion because it may not be as bad as what it seemed at first. And I've noticed that a lot of great practitioners will also encourage a second opinion. They're not egotistical in their diagnosis. They encourage that. You can ask for other options, alternative options, or just other options in general. You may not want a specific test. You have a right to ask for a different test, different medicine, whatever the case may be. And most importantly, and I'm sure there's some others that I have not covered, but most importantly, you have the right to speak up. If you feel that you're being treated unfairly, if you feel that the care that you're getting is not satisfactory, you have the right to speak up. Whether you're in a doctor's office and you speak to the nurse manager, or you're in a hospital and you speak to the floor nurse, or the attending physician, or the hospital administrator, wherever you are, there is someone who's in charge. And then there's someone who's in charge of them. And it goes on and on and on. I know a lot of hospitals now are actually putting in patient care advocates, and you can call and speak with them directly if you have complaints or concerns in regards to your treatment or care. Now, this is not to bash healthcare professionals. I am a healthcare professional myself, but this is to just let people know that you have a right to quality medical care, especially when you're paying. Especially when you're paying. You have a right to know what's going on with you. You have a right to know what's going to be done about it. And you have a right to speak out if you feel that you're not being treated properly. So, with all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can tweet me at ask_princess, or you can find me on Facebook at ask_princess. Until next time.